Welcome, everyone, to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rants alongside Tommy Krysan here on Sports Shorts, presented by the Bears Casino. TK joining us over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood on this Friday morning edition, the November 1st edition of Sports Shorts Daily. I'm in an undisclosed location presented by the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. And today on Sports Shorts, we're going to talk a little bit about the how about the fact that, we're all we always talk about LSU and everything. And we've mentioned it, but we really have been sleeping on what great years that the Raging Cajuns are having, what the Tulane Green Wave are doing with a freshman quarterback who was third string quarterback in camp in August. And now they're 7-2, 5-0 in conference play after a big win last night against Charlotte. And then the Raging Cajuns of 7-4-0 in Sun Belt Conference play. So both teams having great years, headed to a bowl. For Tulane, who knows what bowl they end up in? Where the sky's the limit. But anyway, both need a shout out, and both will be in action November 9th on the same day that the Tigers play Alabama that night in Tiger Stadium. And that's part of the problem for both of those teams. They're sort of just in the shadow of being only an hour away from Baton Rouge. They kind of get gobbled up with what's going on. But in Baton Rouge, obviously the Tigers having a good year, not as great maybe as what some fans would like. But all the, I guess between the three teams, 5 losses combined at this point in November is pretty good. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. Dodgers are World Series champions. It looked like the Yankees were going to win. They were up 5-0 in Game 5. They're going to be headed to Game 6. Things are happening. The pressure starts to get put back on the Dodgers as they would be going home for Game 6 and maybe 7. And then all of a sudden, the Yankees imploded in the 5th inning. It was a comedy of errors, and then Dodgers tie it, and then they go on and win it late. It was surprising, Tommy. What goes to show is that even though these guys make millions of dollars, they're the greatest to do it in their sport, and professionals and all that kind of stuff. Pressure bust pipes. And in October, baseball, in the World Series, when it's the most pressure it could possibly be, sometimes it looks like the Texas Collegiate League, and it's just amazing the mistakes, mental and physical, that happen on the biggest stage because of pressure.
I agree completely. I mean, it was, it goes back to that saying, the little things are really the big things. I mean, how many times do pitchers do PFPs in spring training? I mean, LSU does it, high school teams do it, and then Gary Cole forgets to do it because of pressure. I guess he assumed Rizzo could get to the bag. Credit Mookie Betts for busting it out of the box. And, not everybody runs hard to first anymore, but he did. And Rizzo couldn't get there, and Cole forgot to go there. And it led to a collapse and an implosion, as you said. And then Dodgers are the World Series champ. Probably the better team top to bottom. Dave Roberts, I think you got to give this guy a lot of credit. Look at his stats as a manager. The postseason appearances, that's the second World Series. And he managed that bullpen game and all them arms they got. Dave Roberts, I like both managers. I said that before the World Series started. But Dave Roberts, he pushed a few more right buttons than Aaron Judge in this particular series, and than Aaron Boone, and we'll see what happens.
Roberts, of course, played for the Boston, played for the Dodgers, but he famously played for the Boston Red Sox on that 04 team that was down 3-0 to the Yankees, and the ALCS came back, won it in Game 7, and went on to win the World Series and break the 86-year curse of the Bambino. By the way, documentary, Netflix, 3-part series on that Red Sox team and the Yankee series and all that. I mean, you really should watch it. It's fantastic. I don't know. I'm sure you won't. But anyway, recommendation for someone other than Tommy. Go to Netflix if you haven't and watch it. It just came out a few weeks ago. It's fantastic. But Roberts is in the documentary. And, of course, he famously stole second base, got to second to then end up scoring, in Game 4, when the Red Sox were down to their final, they went into the bottom of the ninth down a run. They're about to be swept in the series. Roberts gets to second, and then the Red Sox end up scoring the tie and run and went to extra innings and won. But he gets a lot of heat because he's in one of those markets. I mean, when you're the manager in New York, you manager in LA, you're going to get all the media, all the pressure, all the hype. He's done an amazing job. Shohei, proved, he's the greatest baseball player in the world for my money. And when he's able to pitch, it's even more of a no-brainer. But I mean, even without pitching, the guy invented a 50-50 club. No one's ever had 50 homers and 50 stolen bases. And he won a World Series and he brought home helped lead and bring home a world championship for the Dodgers. So it's a great story over there, whether you like the Dodgers or not. Not only are they really good this year, Tommy, like they're going to be the favorite to win it next year, as well they should be. And they got money to go spend in the offseason. Who knows what additions they're going to add. The thing is that New York, when you don't win it and you get there, everybody starts to question the makeup and what this team's about and all that. I think New York's just fine. I mean, baseball is one of those sports that just because you have a bad postseason, and Judge was getting a lot of heat, and now he finally broke out in the last game, had a homer and all that. But when you get a lot of heat, people say, "Oh, you can't play in the big time and all that." Get out of here. Look at Alex Rodriguez. They gave him a hard time, and then finally the tide turned, and then he became a postseason guy and won a World Series and all that. I don't think that I don't in baseball, it's not always because you want to. There are real times where you're in a funk, you're in a streak, things don't happen for you for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks at a time. I mean, Alex Bregman, when he was at LSU, had two different times where I remember Tommy was like 2 for 40 and 1 for 30 and all that. And that's in college where he was one of the best players in the game. So I don't buy into that. I've seen a lot of great players struggle for a week or 2 or 3 or 4 at a time. Baseball is just one of those sports, man. And I think the Yankees are going to be just fine. They got the money to go add and subtract. But the Dodgers winning the World Series this year with all the injuries on the mound, people don't realize they had 5 or 6 dudes that would have been dudes for them that weren't able to pitch or did and got hurt, and they still won the series. It was impressive.
Well, in postseason, it's all about winning games. Okay, the stats are not as important. It's about winning the games. The Dodgers won the game, so they'll be odds-on favorite next year. Aaron Boone's contract expired. There is an option for the Yankees to redo, not him to redo. So we'll see. There's some talk that they may make a change, but I don't know if you can get anybody better for that team in that market. Soto's a free agent, and 11 teams called him yesterday, according to one report that I read. So it'll be an interesting hot stove offseason for Major League Baseball. Certainly I'll pay attention, but lots of other folks obviously kicking full gear into the NFL, those that like the NBA. I mean, all that's going to start surfacing.
Switch over to the NBA. The Pelicans have lost 3 in a row after they won 2 in a row to start the season. I don't know. Does that sound like their brothers in the building next door, the New Orleans Saints? They started we're excited. They look really good, and all of a sudden they've looked terrible since. But they are back home tonight against the Pacers in the Blender. So if you get an opportunity, you want tickets, I'm sure they got plenty online. Go online and check that out tonight. Speaking of the Saints, they find themselves, as we mentioned, somehow a 7-point favorite over against Carolina. Obviously, that's an indictment of Carolina, how bad they are. Bryce Young will start at quarterback, by the way, for the Panthers. Combined, those two teams have 3 wins. We know that the Saints blew out the Carolina Panthers at home the first game of the year, and that's when they got us all excited right before they blew out the Cowboys, and then that was it. We'll see if they can somehow take care of business this weekend. By the way, last night in the NFL, Tom, did you watch the game? Any the Jets and
a little bit of it. By the way, I got a line you're gonna really like. Yesterday my quote unquote Halloween get up and went as a Rougarou player. I had my Rougarou jersey and the nice Roug hat, and I was telling people I'm the Roug baseball player. And somebody said, "Hey, you look more like an old coach." I went, "Okay, I gotta change it." I'm like 1-0 you, because I do look more like a coach than a player at this point in time. I thought you'd get a kick out of that. But I did see a little bit of the Texans game. I thought the Texans would win. I made a small bet on that. That didn't work out. And how about the guy, though, the rookie going in for the touchdown and drops the ball before? I mean, he should be cut. I mean, you can't do that. Okay,
So,
and that would have been his first career touchdown. Okay, his first career touchdown, and he's showboating, and it cost his team. He cost his team a touchdown. I mean, how stupid can you be?
yeah, the Jets player was going in for the score and then, dropped the football at the half-yard line or the 1 yard line
He
or
was
whatever.
showboating. He was
Yeah,
showboating.
but here's what, by the way, that happens like once a year. Usually, whether it be college or the pros or something, between, usually like once a year, there's a play in football where it happens. And I like I, the first time it happened, I get it, but now it happens enough to where you should be conscious and aware of carry the damn ball across the goal line and be 2 steps in before you drop it. Like it happens too frequently for it to happen anymore. Like it's not even not acceptable.
There's what, dozens of cameras, many of them focused on the goal line. I mean, that's just stupid. Okay, I mean, and it's his first career touchdown. He's showboating. He's thinking he did something, and he cost his team. Now they won the game. They overcame it, but I mean, I just can't comprehend that.
Yeah, it's bizarre. And Aaron Rodgers, they broke a 5-game losing streak. They got a win. Devontae Adams had a touchdown catch. Wilson, the great wide receiver, had an OBJ ×2 catch in the end zone, one-handed, and got down. And the defensive line, I think they sacked Stroud 7-8 times in the game. I mean, they just were dominating. They look like what the Jets are supposed to be. And again, they had one score taken off the board. They look like what the Jets are supposed to be. We'll see if somehow they get hot and get on a roll a little bit. They do have some weapons in that defense that when it wants to, it is really good. That defensive line is one of the best in the league. So we shall see what happens to them if they turn the table a little bit. The college football this weekend. LSU, of course, is off. You mentioned, Ohio State, Penn State. I don't know if you saw Urban Meyer said that Penn State, the toughest place to play. He thought it was LSU, obviously from his time in Florida, but when he was in Ohio State and they went there for a whiteout game, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, he gives that one number 1 and LSU number 2. Ohio State is favored by a field goal against Penn State. I kind of think both teams aren't as good as maybe advertised or maybe what we think Ohio State, Penn State top 5 team maybe should be. I think both aren't as good as I know Ohio State's not as good as some of their past teams. And I do think Penn State's had a little bit of a horseshoe. Remember, they were down big on the road at USC at halftime, and they came back. They were down halftime. Another game recently. I don't know. It's very much. I'm looking forward to the game because I really think it's a coin flip game. I think Penn State at home as a dog kind of probably would take them. I think if you take Penn State and what is it, 3.5, Tommy?
Ohio State 3-point favorite. The game is at Penn State, so really, it's a coin toss. It's a Yeah. Somebody's really going to separate themselves and be staring at the playoff situation. Like we said the other day, Ronnie, we're into November. Today is November 1. November is when you find out the football teams that are going to be there or be in the hunt at the end. So Ohio State, Penn State, a lot of people like you said thinking they're a little bit not as good as you think. Well, one of them is going to win this game and take a step forward. One of them is going to take a step back.
Yeah, I think if I had to bet it, I would go Penn State and the points at home in this environment. A game that's interesting that A&M is at USC, South Carolina. The A&M is a 3-point favorite. You thought that line seems a little short.
Yeah, well, maybe they're thinking let down after A&M with the big win against LSU. Carolina's 4-3 overall, but they're like a half team. They either play the first half or the second half really good, and things go wrong in the other half. If they put 4 quarters together, they might beat A&M. But I just thought that number was low when I first saw it. That A&M, who's now in sole possession of first place in the SEC, and they don't want to take a step backward. So they're going on the road. It's tough to play at South Carolina. We know that. And I don't know. I just kind of like A&M -3 there.
Well, this is an opportunity for A&M to prove, that they belong in that upper echelon. You had that big win against LSU. You had the big second half. You figured some things out. Your coach goes to the microphone and makes his plea to all the recruits, and this we're here. We're not the old A&M, we're the new A&M. Come here, this is where you need to be. All that stuff. All right. Well, now this is a game you should win. You should win. It's going to be a tough place to play on the road, all that. But you're the better team, and you should take care of business and march to Atlanta. We'll see. We'll see if they in fact do that.
Well, all right. And one other game, Ronnie. If Billy Napier is going to return, if he beats Georgia tomorrow, you got to believe he's going to return to Florida. Okay, I mean it's Florida Georgia game. That's a big thing, obviously. And apparently some players went to Napier a couple of weeks ago and said, we got to change some things. Defense is too complicated. Can we simplify it? Napier took their thoughts and he simplified it. Now they've been playing a little better. So if they beat Georgia, Napier would be back next year, I would think. So, but if Georgia, beats them, I mean, Georgia's a 14.5-point favorite. So saying that Florida might win might be a stretch. Maybe they keep it within 14.5, but I'd have to think that if Florida doesn't win this game, the people who don't think Napier is coming back will be correct.
Well, let's see. I want to look at the line here. Georgia is 14.5-point favorite in this one. And for Florida, they've got, of course, Georgia. Then they go to Texas. Then they're at home against LSU, home against Ole Miss, and then at Florida State. We knew that they had the toughest schedule in the country going into the season. It was ranked number 1. That's why Vegas, the over-under on wins was 3.5 or 4.5. I think it was 4.5 was the over-under on wins for them this year. They're at 4 wins. You got to believe they're going to probably beat Florida State, although, we know that rivalry games, anything can happen. And, oh, by the way, if they don't win any more games between now and then, who knows what the mood's going to be like? Who knows if Billy Napier's still going to be there? But on paper, because Florida State is so hot garbage, they should win that game. So they should get to 5 wins, which would actually take the over. But I'm telling you, if this team gets to 6 wins, that means they upset somebody. They beat Ole Miss, they beat Florida, LSU, they beat Texas, they beat Georgia. And on paper, LSU and Ole Miss look like the easier marks than Texas on the road in Georgia. So we'll see. I think if Billy Napier gets to 6 wins, that's not a good standard for any team like a Florida who has expectations as a program overall, like an LSU, but really not bad. I don't know I mean, I think he's probably going to get fired no matter what he does because he's not going to win 5 in a row or anything like that. But the reality is that Billy Napier can somehow get to 6 wins and be bowl eligible with that schedule when the expectation, when I really thought they were going to maybe win 4 or 5 games this year, he can at least go out with his head somewhat high and a big paycheck.
Yeah, well, I don't think they can beat Georgia. I'd be shocked if they win the game straight up. Might they keep it close? Maybe. We've seen, Georgia have its moments. But so there'll be a lot of SEC fans watching that game. And then, of course, the whole thing about Napier.
All right, Tommy, tell us about Tremonti's Meat and Seafood as we get out of here.
Well, they got gift cards available, any denomination. You can use that for any kind of wine or liquor or meat, seafood. Turkey season right around the corner. They're going to sell a lot of fried turkeys, rotisserie turkeys, and smoked turkeys. All the side dishes. Go to Tremonti's.com, click the seasonal tab, and you'll have all the pricing, everything you need to know. And again, the gift cards are a great idea. Any denomination. You want to give them to the office people that you work with, have them at the home for your neighbors. When that neighbor comes over with a gift and you didn't prepare or think they'd bring you a gift, hand them a Tremonti's gift card. So those are available here. Just stop by Jefferson Highway, just down the street from Parkview Baptist Church and School.
All right, for Tommy Christ and I'm Ronnie Rance. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, as well as ESPN Lake Charles and Lafayette. You can 10 noon. We'll be on the air live from Fat Daddy's and Plaquemine. Until then, please like and share this video and have a good one, everybody.